Hey everyone, welcome back to Set For You. In today's video, I'll be working through the iGCSE Foundation Maths November 2025 Paper 2 exam. So grab a pen, some paper and a calculator and let's get started. In the first question, we are given a table that shows the distances in kilometers traveled by 6 birds. In the first part of this question, we are asked to write down the name of the bird that traveled the greatest distance. So if we look at our table, we can clearly see that the greatest distance traveled is 95,786, and the bird that traveled this distance is the Arctic tern. In the second part of this question, we are asked to write the number 64,321 correct to the nearest thousand, and that is simply 64,000. In the next part of this question, we are asked to work out the difference between the distance travelled by the northern wheat ear and the distance travelled by the pied wheat ear. So using our table, we can see that the distance travelled by the northern wheat ear is 28,349, and the distance travelled by the pied wheat ear is 17,582. And if you put that into your calculator, you get a value of 10,767. In the final part of this question, we are asked on the dotted line, write down a number from the table to make this calculation correct. So something divided by 3 gives us 9,316. So all we need to do is multiply 9,316 by 3, and that gives us a value of 27,948. In the second question, we are given a bar chart that shows information about the weight of wheat in millions of tons produced by each of 5 countries in 2021. The UK produced 14 million tons of wheat, and in the first part of this question, we are asked to draw a bar on the bar chart to show this information. So all we need to do is draw a bar chart up to the value of 14 on our y-axis, and hopefully you get something that looks like this. In the second part of this question, we are asked to write down the weight of wheat produced by Turkey. So just looking at our bar chart, we can clearly see that Turkey produces 18 million tons of wheat. So if we look at the bar chart, we can clearly see that that value is 18. In the next part of this question, we are told that one of these countries produced 7.5 million tons of wheat. Which country? So 7.5 is halfway between 7 and 8, so that's somewhere here. And we can clearly see that the country that produces that amount of wheat is Morocco. In the final part of this question, we are told that one of these countries produced 3 times as many million tons of wheat as Sweden. Which country? So using the bar chart, we can clearly see that Sweden produced 3 million tons of wheat. And if we multiply that value by 3, that gives us a value of 9. And so the country that produced 9 million tons of wheat is Egypt. And these are your final answers. In the first part of question 3, we are asked to write down the coordinates of point J. So if we look at the graph, we can see that the x coordinate of J is 5, so I'm going to put 5 here, and the y coordinates of J is 4. So I'm going to put 4 here. So the coordinates of point J are 5, 4. In the second part of this question, we are told to write down the coordinates of point L. So the x coordinate of point L is -4, and the y coordinate of point L is -3. In the final part of this question, we are told that on a grid, mark with a cross X the point M so that JKLM is a parallelogram. Label this point M. So if JKLM is a parallelogram, that must mean that the distance between the x coordinates of points K and J must also be the distance between the x coordinates of points L and M. So this distance is 6. Therefore, if we move 6 units to the right, we arrive at the point 2. And I'm going to put a cross here and label this point M. In question 4, we are given a regular hexagon. In the first part of this question, we are asked to write down the order of rotational symmetry of a regular hexagon. So remember that rotational symmetry means a shape looks the same after being rotated less than a full turn of 360 degrees around its center point. So if we rotate this regular hexagon 6 times, it will still match its original position in a full turn. So the answer is 6. In the second part of this question, we are given a quadrilateral with 4 sides of equal length. Write down the mathematical name of this quadrilateral. So that is simply a rhombus. And in the second part of this question, we are told to draw all the lines of symmetry on the quadrilateral. So we can draw a line of symmetry here and another line of symmetry here. In the final part of this question, we are given some triangles drawn on a grid. 2 of these triangles are congruent. Write down the letters of these 2 triangles. So if we rotate shape A 90 degrees clockwise, that will give us shape E. So our final answers are A and E. In the first part of question 5, we are asked to write these decimals in order of size and to start with the smallest decimal. So the smallest decimal is 0.078, followed by 0.67, followed by 0.7, followed by 0.706, and finally 0.76. In the next part of this question, we are asked to write 0.62 as a percentage. So remember that whenever you convert a decimal into a percentage, you need to multiply it by 100. So 0.62 multiplied by 100 is 62. In the final part of this question, we are given some fractions and we are told that one of these fractions can be written as a terminating decimal. Write down this fraction. So remember that a terminating decimal is a number with a limited number of digits after the decimal point, meaning that it comes to an end. So if you put all of these fractions into your calculator, you'll notice that 1/3, 2/7, 4/9, and 10/3 have recurring numbers after the decimal point, and 3/5 simply gives you 0.6. So this is our final answer. In question 6, we are given a number machine, and in the first part of this question, we are asked to find the output when the input is 8. So 8 multiplied by 3 is 24, and 24 minus 9 is 15. In the second part of this question, we are given a different number machine, and we are told that when the input is 8, the output is 4. Complete the box to give a possible number machine. So if the input is 8, then 8 plus 12 gives us 20. And for the output to be 4, we need to subtract 16. In question 7, we are told that Tara buys 2 magazines for 3.25 dirhams each, 1 bag of sweets for 2.60 dirhams, and 3 bars of chocolate for 1.75 dirhams each. Tara pays with a 20 dirham note. How much change should she get? So if we multiply 3.25 by 2, that gives us a value of 6.50. And 1.75 multiplied by 3 gives us 5.25. So the change that she would receive will simply be 20 minus 6.50 minus 5.25. And remember that she also bought 1 bag of sweets for 2.60 dirhams. So we'll subtract this value from that. And when you put that into your calculator, you get a value of 5.65. And that is your final answer. In question 8, we are given an equation t equals 5n minus 3p. And in the first part of this question, we are asked to work out the value of t when n equals 8 and p equals 4.5. So t equals 5 multiplied by 8 minus 3 multiplied by 4.5. And when you put all of that into your calculator, you get a value of 26.5. In the second part of this question, we are told to solve the equation 5h plus 8 equals 30. So the first thing we need to do is subtract 8 from both sides. So 5h will equal 30 minus 8, which is 22. And in order to determine the value of h, we simply need to divide 22 by 5. And that gives us a value of 4.4. In question 9, we are given an accurate scale drawing of a patio, and the scale is 1 centimeter represents 150 centimeters. Work out the perimeter of the patio. So when we measure the length of this patio, we get a value of about 8.2 centimeters. And when we measure the width, we get a value of 3.1 centimeters. So the perimeter of our patio can be obtained by multiplying 2 by 8.2 plus 2 times 3.1, and that gives us a value of 22.6 centimeters. And given as 1 centimeter represents 150 centimeters, we can multiply 22.6 by 150, and that gives us a value of 3,390 centimeters. And given as 100 centimeters equals 1 meter, in order to convert this into meters, we need to divide this value by 100. And when we do that, we get a value of 33.9. In the first part of question 10, we are asked to find the value of 43 squared. So if you put that into your calculator, you get an answer of 1,849. In the second part of this question, we are asked to find the cube root of 9,261. So once again, you can put that into your calculator and you get a value of 21. In part C, we are asked to work out 28 minus 5 times 4. So using BIDMAS, we can work out the product of 5 and 4, which is 20. So 28 minus 20 is 8. And in the final part of this question, we are asked to work out 3 cubed plus 6 squared divided by 2. So if we use BIDMAS, we can divide 6 squared by 2. So we can actually write this as 3 cubed, which is 27, plus bracket 6 squared, which is 36, divided by 2. And if you put this into your calculator, you get a value of 45. In question 11, we are given a pie chart that gives information about the types of vehicles parked in a car park. In the first part of this question, we are asked which type of vehicle is the mode. So that would simply be the vehicle with the highest angle, which is the car. In the second part of this question, we are told that 5 of the vehicles are motorcycles. Work out the number of buses. So remember that the sum of the angles in a circle is 360 degrees. So if we do 360 minus 72 minus 45 minus 144, that gives us a value of 99 degrees. And given as we have 5 motorcycles, we can state that 5 divided by 45 multiplied by 99 will give us the number of buses, and that value is 11. In the final part of this question, we are told that Kim selects at random one of the vehicles in the car park. What is the probability that she selects a motorcycle? So the probability can simply be determined by dividing the angle that corresponds to the motorcycles, which is 45 degrees, by the total angle in a circle, which is 360. And when you put this into your calculator, you get a value of 1 over 8. In the first part of question 12, we are asked to find the value of d squared minus 3 when d equals negative 5. So negative 5 all squared is 25, and 25 minus 3 is 22. In the second part of this question, we are asked to make r the subject of the formula m equals 4r minus h. So the first thing I'm going to do is add h to both sides. So I have m plus h, and that equals 4r. I'll write this as 4r equals m plus h. And in order to make r the subject, I need to divide this entire equation through by 4. So 4r divided by 4 equals r, and m plus h divided by 4 is simply m plus h over 4. In the final part of this question, we are told that Rachel is an electrician. The amount Rachel charges in pounds can be worked out using the rule below. The amount Rachel charges in pounds can be worked using the rule below. Rachel works n hours, she charges p pounds. Write down a formula for p in terms of n. So given that she works n hours, we need to multiply the number of hours worked by 27. So n multiplied by 27 is just 27 times n, and we can simply write that as 27n. And then finally, we need to add 40. So that means that the amount she charges, which is p, equals 27n plus 40. And that is your final answer. In question 13, we are told that Johan changes 290 euros to Hong Kong dollars. The exchange rate is 1 euro equals 8.23 Hong Kong dollars. Johan gets as many 50 Hong Kong dollar notes as possible. How many 50 Hong Kong dollar notes does Johan get? So the first thing we need to do is convert 290 euros into Hong Kong dollars. So 8.23 multiplied by 290 equals 2386.70, and I write HKD for Hong Kong dollars. And remember that Johan wants to get as many 50 Hong Kong dollar notes as possible, so we need to divide this value by 50, and that gives us a value of 47.734, which is approximately equal to 4750 Hong Kong dollar notes. In question 14, we are told that a car travels for 3 hours. The car travels at an average speed of 78 kilometers per hour. Work out the total distance the car travels. So remember that distance equals speed multiplied by time, and the speed is 78 kilometers per hour. And we're going to multiply that by 3 hours. When you put that into your calculator, you get a value of 234. And remember, that will be the distance in kilometers. In question 15, we are given a trapezium and we are asked to work out the area of the trapezium. So remember that the area of a trapezium is simply a half multiplied by the sum of the two parallel sides multiplied by the perpendicular height. So in this case, we have a half multiplied by the sum of 14 and 29 multiplied by 8. And when you put that into your calculator, you get a value of 172. In question 16, we are told to find the lowest common multiple of 24 and 56. So if we write 24 as a prime factor tree, we have 2, which is a prime factor, then we have 12, and then we can split 12 into 2 and 6, and we can split 6 into 2 and 3. And if we repeat the same for 56, we can split 56 into 2, which is a prime factor, and 28 into 2 and 14 into 2 and 7. And if we put these into their Venn diagrams, we can put the number 2 in the middle, and I want to cancel that from both trees. We can put the number 2 again, and I can cancel that from both trees. And finally the number 2 again, and I'll cancel that from both trees. So on the left we have 3, which belongs to 24, and on the right we have 7. And the lowest common multiple can simply be obtained by multiplying all the numbers in our Venn diagram. So 3 times 2 cubed times 7 And when you put that into your calculator, you get an answer of 168. We are told that Ella has two fair spinners. Spinner A is labelled 0, 1 and 2. Spinner B is labelled 2, 3, 4 and 5. Ella is going to spin each spinner once. Each spinner will land on a number. Ella will get her score by multiplying these two numbers together. Complete the table. So 0 multiplied by 5 is 0. 1 times 5 is 5. 2 times 4 is 8. And 2 times 5 is 10. And in the final part of this question, we are told to find the probability that Ella's score is less than 5. So there are 12 scores that she obtained, and if we look at all the numbers that are less than 5, we have the first row, we have the first 3 values from the second row, and we have the first value from the third row. So we have 4 plus 3 plus 1 divided by the total number of values in our table, which is 12. And so your final answer is 8 over 12, or 2 over 3. In the first question, we are told that the point P has coordinates 3, 4, the point Q has coordinates 9, 16, M is the midpoint of the line PQ, find the coordinates of M. So in order to determine the coordinates of the midpoint, we need to take the average of the X coordinates respectfully and the average of the Y coordinates respectfully. So the average of the X coordinates is 3 plus 9 divided by 2, and the same can be said about the Y coordinates, which is 4 plus 16 divided by 2. And so the final answer is 6, 10. In the second question, we are told to solve the simultaneous equations. So the first thing I'm going to do is label the first equation as equation 1 and the second equation as equation 2. And given as we have y in both equations, I'm going to add equation 1 and equation 2. And that gives me 8x equals 20. And when I divide both sides by 8, I have x equals 20 over 8, and that simplifies to 2.5. So my value for x is 2.5. And in order to determine the value for y, I can substitute this value of x into either equation 1 or equation 2. So when I substitute x into equation 2, I have 3 times 2.5 minus y, and that equals 9. So 7.5 minus y equals 9. Therefore, y equals 7.5 minus 9, and that is simply minus 1.5. So my value for y is minus 1.5, and these are my final values. In question 3, we are told that a box contains only 9 red bricks, 43 blue bricks and some yellow bricks. 7/20ths of the bricks are yellow bricks. Each brick weighs 35 grams. Work out the total weight of the yellow bricks. So we know that the total number of bricks in the box, which I'll represent as T, simply equals 9 plus 43 plus X, which represents the yellow bricks. And so if we simplify this equation, we have 52 plus X. And given as 7/20ths of the bricks are yellow bricks, we can simply state that 7 over 20 times T equals X. And so I can substitute this equation for X into the equation for T. So T equals 52 plus 7 over 20 multiplied by T. And if I subtract 7 over 20T from both sides, I have 13 over 20T, and that equals 52. Therefore, T simply equals 52 divided by 13 over 20, and that equals 80. So this means that there are a total of 80 bricks in the box. Therefore, the number of yellow bricks can simply be obtained by multiplying 7 over 20 by 80, and that is 28. And given as each brick weighs 35 grams, the total weight of the yellow bricks can be obtained by multiplying 28 by 35, and that gives us a value of 980. So the final answer is 980. In question 4, we are given 3 similar quadrilaterals. Work out the length of JK. So given as these quadrilaterals are similar, the first thing we need to obtain is a scale factor. And the scale factor can be obtained by dividing the length AB by the length EF. So 28 divided by 7 equals 4, and that represents our scale factor. And in order to determine the length JK, we firstly need to determine the length FG. So the length FG can be determined by dividing the length BC, which is 60 centimeters, by 4, and that gives us 15 centimeters. And in order to determine the length JK, we need to divide the length GH by the length KL. So our second scale factor can be determined by dividing 18 by 6, and that gives us 3. Therefore, the length JK can simply be determined by dividing the length FG by 3, and that gives us 15 divided by 3, which is 5. So the final answer is 5 centimeters. In question 5, we are told that Otis sells ice creams. On Friday, Otis sells 75 ice creams. On Saturday, Otis sells 87 ice creams. Work out the percentage increase in the number of ice creams Otis sells from Friday to Saturday. So using this equation for the percentage increase, we can simply state that 87 minus 75 divided by 75 multiplied by 100 will represent the percentage increase in the number of ice creams Otis sells from Friday to Saturday. And when you put that into your calculator, you get a value of 16%. In the second part of this question, we are told that Claudia buys an ice cream machine for 960 Swiss francs. The value of the ice cream machine depreciates by 20% each year. Work out the value of the ice cream machine at the end of 3 years. So given as the value of the ice cream machine depreciates by 20% each year, we can subtract 20% from 100%, and that gives us a value of 80%, which we can also write as 0.8. And if we wanted to determine the value of the ice cream machine after the first year, we would multiply 960 by 0.8. However, given as we want to work out the value of the ice cream machine at the end of 3 years, we need to raise 0.8 to the power of 3. And that gives us a value of 491.52 Swiss francs. And that is your final answer. In question 6, we are told that a large circle with center O contains 3 identical small circles. Each circle touches 2 other circles. A, O, and B are the centers of the small circles. AOB is a straight line. The circumference of the large circle is 160 centimeters. Work out the area of one small circle. So the first thing we need to identify is that the circumference of a circle can be determined by multiplying pi and the diameter. And this is also the same as 2 pi times your radius. So we can state that 2 pi multiplied by the radius of the large circle equals 160 centimeters. So the radius of the large circle can be determined by dividing 160 by 2 pi, and that simplifies to 80 over pi centimeters. And if we take a closer look at our diagram, we can see that 3 lots of the radius of the small circle is equivalent to the radius of the large circle. So the radius of the small circle can simply be obtained by dividing the radius of the large circle by 3. And that gives us 80 over 3 pi centimeters. And given as the area of a circle is pi r squared, the area of one small circle can simply be obtained by multiplying pi by the radius squared, so 80 over 3 pi all squared, and that gives a value of 226.3536 centimeters squared. So to 3 significant figures, the final answer is 226. In the first part of question 7, we are told to factorize this quadratic expression. So simply put, we need 2 factors of negative 48 that add to give us 2. And those values are 8 and negative 6. So the final answer is x plus 8 multiplied by x minus 6. In the second part of this question, we are told, hence solve this quadratic equation. So given as we have already factorized the left side of this equation in the previous part of this question, we can set both of these brackets equal to 0, in which x will either equal negative 8 or x will equal 6. And those are your final answers. In the first part of question 8, we are told to write 5.76 times 10 to the 4 as an ordinary number. And if you put that into your calculator, you get 57,600 as your answer. In the second part of this question, we are told to work out this fraction and to give our answer in standard form. So before we put this fraction into our calculator, we need to use BIDMAS. So remember that multiplication comes before addition, so we need to put brackets here and brackets here. And when you put that into your calculator, you get 308,000 divided by 0.04, and that gives us a value of 7,700,000. And in standard form, that's the same as 7.7 times 10 to the power of 6. In question 9, we are told that Mark has 3 bags, bag A, bag B, and bag C. Bag A contains 120 counters. The probability of taking at random a red counter from bag A is 0.45. Bag B contains 80 counters, and the probability of taking at random a red counter from bag B is 0.3. Bag C is empty. Mark puts all the counters from bag A and bag B into bag C. Mark takes at random a counter from bag C. Work out the probability that he takes a red counter. So the probability that Mark takes a red counter from bag A is 0.45 multiplied by 120, and that gives us a value of 54. And the probability that Mark takes a red counter from bag B is 0.3 multiplied by 80, and that gives us a value of 24. And given as Mark puts all the counters from bag A and bag B into bag C, the total number of red counters in bag C can be determined by adding 120 and 80, and that gives us a value of 200. So the probability of Mark taking a red counter from bag C can simply be determined by adding the probability of him taking a red counter from bag A and from bag B, which would be a total of 54 and 24, and dividing that by the total number of red counters in bag C, which is now 200. And when you put that into your calculator, you get a final answer of 39 over 100. In the first part of question 10, we are told that on the number line represents the inequality W is less than 1. So the first thing we need to do is draw a circle over the number 1, and this has to be an open circle because W is less than 1 and not less than and equal to 1. And given as W is less than 1, we need to draw an arrow to the left which represents all the possible integers and values that W can be, and that is your final answer. In the second part of this question, we are told that the region R shown shaded in the diagram is bounded by 3 straight lines. Write down the 3 inequalities that define the region R. So the first thing we need to do is we need to write the equations of all the straight lines. So we're going to start with the first horizontal line at the top, and that is simply the equation y equals 4. And our diagonal that goes through the origin is y equals x, and the vertical line on the left is x equals -3. So given as the shaded region is below the line y equals 4, we can state that the equation of that inequality is y is less than or equal to 4. And one thing to note is that all of the inequalities will be inclusive because we have solid lines. The second inequality we have for the line y equals x will simply be y is greater than or equal to x, because if we plot a random point, for example the point 1, 2, and we substitute that into the equation y equals x, we have 2 equals 1, and given as this is not true, 2 can only be greater than or equal to 1. And finally, for the equation x equals -3, given as the shaded region is to the right, we can simply state that x has to be greater than or equal to -3. And those are your final answers. In question 11, we are given a right-angled triangle ABC. The area of triangle ABC is 240 centimeters squared. Work out the perimeter of triangle ABC. So given as we have the area of this right angled triangle, we can state that the base multiplied by the height divided by 2 equals 240 centimeters squared. So the base, which is 30, multiplied by your height AC divided by 2 equals 240 centimeters squared. So the length AC can be determined by multiplying 240 and 2 and dividing that answer by 30, and that gives us a value of 16 centimeters. And in order to determine the perimeter of this triangle, we also need the length CB. And CB can be obtained using Pythagoras' theorem. So CB equals 30 squared plus 16 squared, and that equals 34 centimeters. So the perimeter of our triangle is simply the sum of 30, 16, and 34. And when you put all of that into your calculator, you get a final answer of 80 centimeters. Thank you all for watching today's video. I hope this walkthrough has helped boost your confidence for upcoming exams. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up as it really supports the channel. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to S.E.T for you for more walkthroughs, engineering insights, and STEM inspiration. If you have a question or topic you'd like me to cover, don't forget to drop it in the comments. And until next time, keep practicing, stay curious, and I'll see you all in the next video.